Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Philly 500. What's good, bro?
What's happening, man? How are you?
Doing good, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it a lot, man. It's gonna be interesting. San Francisco 49ers, huh?
Yeah, man. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media platform, man.
Oh, you can find me on YouTube. Just type in Philly 500, Philly.500, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Philly 500. So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm always around. You know how it goes.
Yeah, man, you're like the big topic out there. When it comes to Eagles YouTuber, you're like at least one of those guys up there. And then you got like quite a few good ones out there, man. Like there's a lot of good Philadelphia Eagles content creators out there besides you, man. Like
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. There's a lot of, I mean, Eagle fans are passionate, you know, so it's no surprise we have a lot of them, and most of them are pretty cool. So you know, it's cool. It's a cool thing. It's a good community, you know.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the good community about this is the BGN Sports Media. I'm proud sponsor of their group as the representative of the 49ers, man. Be sure to check out their channel. And Philly 500 approves this message right there.
I approve. It's Philly 500 approved. King Dingbat approved. No question about it.
Yeah, pretty much, man. So, yeah, let's get on to these topics of the Eagles season. Like, what was your season recap of it as a fan? Go on.
I think that the Eagles I think they exceeded my expectations, right? There was a big unknown with Jalen Hurts, what he was going to be. It's a big unknown with your head coach. And to get to the playoffs, and even though you didn't win, but just to get there, I thought was a big deal. It was a big moment for the coach. I thought Jalen Hurts got better as the year went. So I thought overall they exceeded my expectations, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like a lot of the talks during the offseason was like you guys were pretty much labeled as the worst team in that division because of a lot of this, but then Jalen Hurts proved the doubters. But as far as your team, man, like how confident do you feel about Jalen Hurts entering this upcoming season?
I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't know. I'm in the middle of the road. I don't expect him to be bad. I don't expect him to be good. I don't know what he is. Like, I honestly don't know. I don't know what he is because he has to become a better passer in this league to be successful. He's going to have to. You saw all these teams in the playoffs last year. You have to be able to throw the ball. He has to get better at throwing the ball. Now, do I think he's capable of it? I think he is, but we're going to have to see, and we're going to find out. So I'm kind of like right in the middle. I'm not taking sides one way or the other. I know a lot of Eagle fans are, and I'm going to see what he is. You know, I'm going to give him an opportunity. That said, I'm a big believer that if you had a chance to get like Russell Wilson, who's now been traded, or even Deshaun Watson, you do it. You do it.
Yeah. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, I guess he's been cleared of charges. So, man, yeah, that's crazy.
No charges for him. Now, I mean, that's still going to be a public relations nightmare, whoever gets him, because, you know, there are going to be people that are upset just by mere allegations. But, you know, he wasn't charged criminally, and he's going to get traded, and it's going to be really interesting to see where he goes. I got a video I'm coming out probably tonight on that. It's going to be fascinating. It really is.
It's going to be fascinating, like you said, how we vision.
How we vision, baby. How we vision, and we're all just living in it. You know, that's the truth. And I don't know. I really, honestly, and I said this in my video, I think there's my three top teams that I think will land Deshaun Watson is either, and I'll put it in order, I think Seattle, Carolina, or the Eagles. I think it's going to be one of those, and then an outside chance of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, because there's going to be a team that desperately needs a quarterback. But, man, now it kind of does hurt a little bit on the Jimmy Garoppolo trade value now because he would have been simply the clear favorite to get target now. Now that Deshaun Watson's charges are clear, now he's going to have to wait his turn. This is not looking good for the Niners for right now when it comes down to trading Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, I think I can see Garoppolo in Indy. That's where I see him falling. You know, I figured Deshaun Watson's not going to go to Indianapolis. The Houston's not going to trade him within the division anyways. So I think Garoppolo ends up in Indy.
Yeah, Indianapolis, because they just traded Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. And it's common sense. Like, if you're looking as a football perspective, like when they traded Carson Wentz, it gives you a clue that they were interested in Jimmy Garoppolo. They want stability. They want a winning culture. They were just this close to getting to the playoffs, and they just blew it against the Jaguars. So they just want to blame it on Wentz, even though the guy's never been able to.
He choked, though. I mean, listen, I actually am a big Wentz guy. I gave Wentz the greatest nickname in the history of sports, the North Dakota Assassin, and he hasn't lived up to it, man. But he didn't have a bad year, right? He didn't have a bad year. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but those moments were bad, and whatever reason, that front office doesn't like the guy.
Yeah, because of his attitude or something, the way he is during the locker room or something like that.
Well, he gets along with guys. I think from what I heard, it was like he's uncoachable. He's not willing to learn, and he's he's very stubborn. So he rubs people the wrong way. That's for sure.
So his personality could rub people the wrong way. But what was your thoughts? Yeah, what was your thoughts when he got traded to the Commanders?
The Washington Commies.
Yeah.
I call him Comrade Wentz now, Comrade Carson. But I predicted it, actually. About 2 weeks ago, I said he'll end up in Washington, and it made a lot of sense. And I honestly think, I could joke around. We could joke around about Carson Wentz, but if Washington gets good Carson, they could be scary because they got a decent defense, they got a decent offense. And if Carson can just put it together and get some consistency, they could be tough, man. I mean, I really think that. Carson has his flaws, no question. But, dude, as bad as he played at times, as like there were weeks where he just could not throw the ball, he still threw 27 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. So if he's plays the way he played last year with Washington, I think they could win the division. I hate to say it.
Yeah, it's pretty wide open because NFC East changes every year because it can go from,
right.
Yeah, Dallas just won based by talent-wise, but I think they're going to decline next year. So it could be anybody's guess. Like the Eagles got into the playoffs as second place, so they could maybe be in the mix. Then Washington, ever since they changed their name to the no names, now the Commanders, does it look like a possibility they could win that division?
Not based upon the name, but based upon the talent. Yeah, they actually have talent. The name just is horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It just sounds like a minor league name, but I guess for Corey Davis, I think Deshaun Watson does hurt Jimmy G's value a little bit because everybody covets Deshaun Watson more of a franchise than Jimmy because with Deshaun Watson, he can extend plays. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of his stats are crazy, but if you look at his wins and losses, it doesn't compare to Jimmy Garoppolo, but the stats are far better.
What do you, as a 49er fan, what are you hoping to get compensation-wise?
I'm hoping we get at least multiple draft picks. At least I'm okay with a third and maybe a fifth into it, then I'd be good. But even if we get a fifth round, I'd be okay with it. Get the cap space off the books and get some other players out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he hurts Jimmy G's value because there's only – Watson's only going to go to one team. You still got several teams that need a quarterback, right? You still have Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Maybe Miami needs a quarterback. Indianapolis definitely needs a quarterback. So there are teams that Seattle needs a quarterback, but I don't think he would go to Seattle. But there are teams that definitely need quarterbacks. So I don't think it's going to hurt his value all that much. And apparently Houston is all, they still want like 3 first-round picks for the guy. So, I think you guys will be all right. I think you get a second-round pick for Jimmy G. I don't know if you get a first-round pick. I think you get a second for sure.
Second, yeah, there's been talks for a second-round pick from other sources. Like I'm hearing from a guy that was on Grant's show talking about, I guess this John Middlecoff, whatever his name is. He got some close sources that says that there's a team that's going to offer the Niners a second-round pick on the table, but we'll find out when it gets done or something. But it looks like they're just waiting for a better offer. Yeah, Super likey, yeah, cool, man. But yeah, dude, like the fact that there's gonna be some good markets. I mean, there's rumors that maybe Derek Carr could be traded. I don't know. There's just a lot of different
Derek
quarterback
Carr
moves.
could be. It's all possible, you know. For me, like I look at it through the Eagles' perspective, right? To me, you have Jalen Hurts on a rookie contract. You know, he's young. He's essentially played 1 year, and I don't know what he can be in a passing game. I'm in wait and see, evaluate mode. So I think that the only way I upgrade that position is if it was Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. Otherwise, I ain't doing it. Garoppolo, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. To me, I'm not in love with enough of those guys that I want to bring them in. I would rather stick with Hurts, and if he's not the guy, go get the guy later. You know, I don't want to risk it with those guys.
Yeah, those are kind of risky moves out of it, to be honest. I mean, like you just said, you don't want to go on like that, but you want to give Hurts at least another chance to prove himself with the Eagles. But
yeah,
speaking of the quarterbacks of the Eagles, I mean, I know that you guys had your past with this guy named Nate Sudfeld. What's your thoughts of this guy, man? He's been on our roster now. We just signed him to a new contract.
He really didn't get a lot of playing time with the Eagles. He was with us for a while, you know, and he played the last game of the 2020 season versus Washington. We basically tanked that game. He came out and he looked horrible. But I've seen him where I thought he's looked decent before. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Nick Foles. You know, he kind of looks like him, kind of big guy. I think he's got a decent arm. I think he's pretty smart. You know, he just hasn't had a chance to be on the field though. So, what is he? Is he your backup or third string?
Well, last year he was our third string, but now
you're assuming he'll be backup. I think he could be. I think, and I said this about Nate Sudfeld before. I think that he could be a guy that can win you 1 or 2 games if you need it, if you have a good team around him. And obviously, the 49ers, in my opinion, are one of the best teams overall, like in terms of you just take the quarterback out of it. I think you guys are well built. You really great coach. You got great wide receivers. I was a big Ayuk guy, by the way. Like that, I wanted Ayuk if I couldn't have Henry Ruggs. You know, you have Debo, Ayuk. You have a great running game. You have a good defense. So I think a team like that, I think he can win you. You know, you need a couple games in the regular season. I think he could do that for you. You know?
Yeah. The team alone is just a quarterback away. The defense is solid. I mean, offense is good. I mean, we got receiver weapons. Debo's a weapon on every aspect, and Kittle, when healthy, he's a good.
And let me say this. I didn't mean to cut you off, but to build that kind of roster is hard. Okay, it's hard to pretty much be good throughout. I mean, you have a couple holes, I think, in your secondary, but it's hard to be good at every position. Okay, so like a lot of times people say, well, you know, you build the team and, you know, then you just build the team around an average quarterback. That sounds good on paper, but it's very hard to do because you have to hit multiple spots. That's why a franchise quarterback that can hide your deficiencies is so important. That's why the 49ers are smart. They look at Garoppolo, and he had a lot of talent around him, and he didn't win that game in the NFC Championship. But they know that he's not that guy. I mean, let's just be honest. They know. That's why they got Trey Lance. Trey Lance has that kind of potential where if he develops to his potential, he is that guy. So I think the 49ers, I don't like to blow smoke to other teams, but I like how I like the way your front office thinks. I do. I like the line of thinking that they have.
Yeah, like that's just the way we look at it. But yeah, secondary's been one of the biggest weaknesses when it comes down to it. But I guess I'm hearing rumors about one of your guys, Fletcher Cox, is getting traded. Like, is it like been rumored or kind of?
Well, he almost got traded at the deadline last year. He got shopped around. It didn't work out. And from what I hear, it's not a definite thing that they're going to trade him. But they are getting calls and they're listening to offers. So I guess if the right deal comes around, they may do it. I mean, why not? There are some defensive tackles. You got 3 first-round picks. You got a lot of defensive linemen coming out. I could see it happening. I don't think it will, but it wouldn't totally shock me either.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock because it depends on the better offer. I mean, the Eagles, you guys are a young team and you still can build on. I mean, even though you got a good defensive talent, I ain't going to lie. Your defensive line is pretty good. I mean, Fletcher Cox, one of the best at your position. Then you got other good players. Like, there's just a lot of talent. Like, Josh Sweat, when healthy, he could be a really good factor for your guys' defense. And Brendan Graham, he's just been a dominant factor, but he was injured. And then I don't know much about Derek Barnett. I know he's a penalized kind of guy.
Stinks. Just get rid of him. He's the kind of guy you want to just get rid of, like, right away. Like, I can't wait for him to go. I'm not a Derek Barnett guy. We've got a lot of holes. I mean, we're not where you guys are yet. You know what I mean? But hopefully we're on our way. You know, we got to hit. You guys have hit your draft picks. You've hit a lot of picks. You know, so that's what we need to do. We need to hit our picks like you guys. Yeah,
we've been hitting on our drafts every now and then, but we always hit well in the late rounds. Like early rounds, it's always been more of a miss than anything else. Like that's where we get Kittle at. Kittle was late round. Dre Greenlaw late round. A lot of our secondary guys, like I get the feeling that they're like really talented. And then you got a couple of good, decent players. So usually we get those guys late round. Early rounds, they're like either contributors, like Elijah Mitchell came in the 6th round.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's a great job. You know what? I love your receivers. Okay, like as an Eagle fans, we in the offseason, we tend to argue amongst each other a lot, right? It's all in good fun. But we ever since I've been on YouTube, in the offseason, we argue because we all have very passionate opinions, but we just don't agree on everything. And it makes for good content because, you know, it's fun to debate. But there's a lot of talk, you know, where Eagle fans want a big physical receiver. They want that 6'4" guy to be a possession receiver, to be like opposite of Devontae Smith. And in my opinion, I'm like, no, I want fast guys on the outside. I don't mind physical. You could be physical and fast and not big. I mean, Deebo Samuel's not the biggest guy, or he's not 6'4", 6'5", but your receivers are exactly the kind of what I want the Eagles to have. Like, you know, especially yards after the catch. I love Brandon Ayuk, by the way. I really do.
So you were a big fan of him coming out of college too.
Yeah,
so,
he was my 4th ranked wide receiver. He was my 4th.
Yeah, and then speaking of the draft during that time, man, I'd seen your reaction on that Jalen Reagor pick, man. Like, I guess that Mark Holmes kind of made a video reaction of you.
The Jalen Hurts, the Jalen Hurts pick, yeah. Well, it was just a dumb pick, you know. And people still, people always say to me now, well, because I had for those that don't know, I had a bad reaction to Jalen Hurts getting picked in the 2nd round. Yeah, I had a meltdown, and basically, I thought it was a dumb pick, and to this day, I still say it was a stupid pick, and that was never a shot at Jalen Hurts. It had nothing to do with Jalen Hurts, the player, what he is, how good he is. It was simply that if you're building a team around a franchise quarterback specific, you don't waste a 2nd round pick on a backup quarterback. You don't do that. You can fill a starting position, and the Eagles did not draft Jalen Hurts because they wanted him to replace Carson Wentz. They drafted him to be the backup. So I can't justify ever drafting a backup quarterback in the 2nd round. I just can't.
Well, it's more like insurance policy because of Carson Wentz. At the time, people would have just said, you know what, maybe it's because you need to make sure you have something in place because Nick Foles left, at the time. So,
I get it, but you don't. But to me, you don't waste a 2nd round pick on it. You know,
that's true.
You don't. There were legitimate. There were starting corners. There was a lineman. There were defensive starters that would have started day one on the board still, and they took a backup. And that was my biggest issue with it, you know. And I still think it was wrong. I just think they lucked out. That's all. Yeah,
I feel the same way. Like in the 2nd round, we pick a guard from Notre Dame where you can just wait in the 3rd or 4th round at least. But man, you could have got yourself a stud corner in Asante Samuel Jr. But you let that slip away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Landon Dickerson turned out to be really good, and I knew he was going to be good if he was healthy. That wasn't the issue, um, you know. But they could have, in my opinion, and people always argue with me, but I'm going to go to my grave saying that if they would have just played it differently, they could have drafted Asante Samuel Jr., JOK, and they could have traded back up a little later because they had so many draft picks, and they still could have got Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, Landon Dickerson was coming off an injury, but he was still considered a solid top prospect coming out of Alabama as a center. So I guess the injury was a little. I guess you guys could have waited a little more.
I thought they could have waited. And to me, you could have come up the very next pick. I don't care. But I thought that if they would have played it right, you would be talking about, 3 starters coming out of that draft in the first two rounds, with your first 3 picks.
Yeah, you would want to get starters like in the draft, like from the first 3 rounds. You want to make sure those are the guys who can contribute and be your starters from day one. But instead,
Exactly.
you're gonna get projects. Come on, man! Like
Exactly. But I mean, listen. At the end of the day, Landon Dickerson, I think, is a beast, and I'm glad we have him. And I knew he was going to be good if he could stay healthy, but that was the big question: will he stay healthy? And so far, so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good investments for the Eagles, but you guys just brought back Jason Kelce to an extension, right?
Well, to a 1-year contract. He signed 1 year, $14 million. He's year to year right now because he's getting to the point where he's going to want to retire soon. But yeah, he's coming back. I'm thrilled to have him because I think that offensive line is one of the best in the league. So I think it's big getting him back.
Yeah, that's how you build your foundation with the Eagles. I mean, Leonard Dickerson, I think as soon as he gets healthy, but was he playing guard or center? Because I know he was drafted
played guard. He played left guard. They drafted him as a center, but he can play both positions. I think that they're going to keep him at left guard now. I would be surprised if they move him back to center. I think he's the left guard of the future.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to look at it because he's big. I mean, you would think, hey, he could be a center too, but in case injuries come into play, that's where you can plug him in. So that's the one important part about offensive line. Since I played this position before, you've always want guys who can play both sides, either the guard, center, or tackle. You know, versatility is more important.
Yeah, it's a huge bonus if you can play multiple positions. It really is.
It sure is, man. So when you look into the offseason, what's one of the most biggest needs for the Eagles? Like, I know coming into the offseason, you guys got to address certain.
I think the biggest need for the Eagles this offseason is defensive end. They got to they got to rebuild that defensive line. They're getting old. They got guys that were injured. They're losing Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham coming off Achilles. The Eagles were I think last in sack. We didn't get that many sacks. And we have a defensive coordinator that does not like to blitz. So it really puts pressure on your defensive front, on your front four to get pressure and get to the quarterback. So I think the Eagles, in both free agency and the draft, I think they need to go out and get 2 defensive ends.
Yeah, 2 defensive ends, good depth and players you can build around. I mean, you guys develop a guy like Josh Sweats and quite a few other pieces, but you definitely need to get more of the pieces. Right. And getting a good solid rotation is good, especially at defensive line.
Absolutely. Brandon Graham's probably playing his last year in Philly. He'll play 1 more year. Derek Barnett is gone. And I like Josh Sweat, but I view Josh Sweat as a, 7 to 8 sacks a year type guy. I think you need 2 other guys, one to be on the opposite side, and I see him more as a really good rotational piece. So I think they should address free agency with a defensive end, and then I think they should strike early with a defensive end also. I want 2 defensive ends out of this offseason.
So 2 defensive ends in the offseason, but which is one of the biggest weakness for you guys to address during the offseason?
Well, I think defense. I think that's the biggest weakness. But I think linebacker would technically be a bigger weakness. But I think the Eagles value defensive end as a more important position. But they got to upgrade their linebacker. The Eagles here. I'll give you a quick rundown what they need. They need interior offensive linemen, and then this is in their order: I think they still need a right guard. They need 2 defensive ends, in my opinion. They need 2 linebackers, in my opinion. They need a corner and 2 safeties. That's what they need.
Defensively, you guys are solid. There's a good foundation. Nick Sirianni is just exactly a really solid play caller for you guys at that point. But speaking of like your draft crush, I know it's coming down to the draft season. Like, right. I know I've seen some of your videos. I've seen some of the way you put your breakdown films, and I know you're probably like having some I know you're having some thoughts of which player the Eagles can get in the draft, and you're just like, oh, we got to get this guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tend to. I don't hold back. When I like something, I got something to say, that's it. And I tend to find guys that I specifically want. I'm absolutely intrigued by David Ojabo from Michigan. Like that, I think out of all the defensive ends, I think that he's raw. He has less experience. He has to put on weight. There's things he has to do, but I think from just a talent standpoint, a ceiling standpoint, I think he has the biggest upside. That's the guy I want. I want David Ojabo.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos where like, holy shit, he does good off the snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, he's very fast off the snaps. He explodes off the snaps. And I also like is that he strip sacks. He goes for the fumble. I can't tell you the last time I saw an Eagle player, defensive lineman, that does that. It's been a long time.
Well, it's been a while since that Super Bowl where you guys won that with Tom Brady fumbling that ball. So it was
Brandon Graham. Yep.
Brandon Graham, and he's kind of getting up in age, so it's pretty much like it makes a lot of sense to address it. But but when you're talking about how you want the Eagles to have some kind of receivers like the Niners, like those yak bros, those physicality, but the speed wise, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I look at Deebo Samuel. I think he's a physical receiver. He's a fast receiver, and he's the best probably yards after the catch receiver in the league. And I thought Brandon Ayuk really started to turn it on for you guys this past year. I think that in today's NFL, you have to have speed on the outside. I just do. Like it used to be, there used to be the days where you have the speed receiver that stretches the field and then the big possession physical receiver. I think the NFL's getting away from that. I think you need 2 speed guys on the outside. Now, if you have a guy that's big, that's great. As long as he's fast, he's got to have speed. And if you don't have a big guy, you can still have a physical, speedy receiver. I think Deebo Samuel is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that you can just put everywhere in the offense. I mean, yards after the catch, or even as a running back, which we've been able to see a showcase throughout the season. When the injuries at running back for the Niners during the season, we were getting shorthanded with injuries, and then we put Deebo out there. Yep. And the offense didn't miss much of a beat.
Exactly. Totally, 100%. Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a player. No question about it.
Yeah, he is. I mean, but then you just talk about how Ayuk is a good route runner, a physical guy after the catch. He's got those long arms too, which is ridiculous.
And he's fast and he's athletic. I really like that combination. I do.
Yeah, and for the Eagles, man, there's some good prospects coming into the draft. You got a guy like what's his name, Treylon Burks from
Arkansas. I believe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's good. There's a lot of receivers. I haven't studied all the receivers yet. There's a lot of guys I got to go look at. But I really think that for receiver wise, I think that second or third round there should be some really good value for wide receiver. I really want the Eagles to focus heavy early on in the draft, like first round. I want defense. I want defense early on. I want maybe wide receiver in the second or third round.
That would be a good way to go. I mean, but then you got free agency, and with all that cap space you guys got, you can definitely address certain needs out there. I mean, there's a lot. The Eagles can go either way, but I think you guys are just a few years away from being very close to competing for that conference championship or so. I mean, you guys got the talent, but it's going to take a while.
It's all about the quarterback right now. You have to figure out if Jalen Hurts is the guy. Now, there are Eagle fans that will say, and I saw Bird Gang 31 was in here. Shout out to him. But he said Jalen Hurts is going to kill it this year. He's going to kill it, and I hope he's right. And then there's guys that are like, nah, he's not the guy. Don't waste any more time. I don't know. I honestly don't know. There are things I really like about Jalen Hurts. I think he's a great kid. I think he's a natural leader. I think he could be clutch. I like all those things of him. I think he moves well. He can get out of situations because he's mobile. But then there are things he's got to work on. His accuracy, his mechanics. He's got to learn to throw guys open and throw to a spot. And those are all things that you can work on. The only thing that he really can't improve, I think, is he's never going to have a cannon arm. You know what I mean? He's never going to have that big arm. But he can make up for that with accuracy.
Accuracy is the most important position for quarterback, especially the percentage throws and all that stuff. I mean, some of them just don't have that strong arm, but you could definitely look at Jimmy Garoppolo. He doesn't have a strong arm, but working on accuracy has always been the best way to go. But okay, for good free agents for you guys, I mean, what's the Eagles cap space currently right now since signing Jason Kelsey?
I don't remember what it is exactly. Well, the Kelsey, I don't know. I don't know the terms of that deal because I'm not sure if that was I'm not sure how much is a signing bonus. You know what I mean? That could be a giant signing bonus. And they can manipulate, the cap, so it's not a big cap number. I don't know what the cap number is but I think the Eagles have somewhere. I think it's around 20-something million. But then there are a few things going on. I think the salary cap from last year is still going to roll, right? So they got to roll money. I think there's about 16 million there, and then the cap just went up. I think $25 million for everybody because they just raised the cap. So I think when it's all said and done, I'm expecting anywhere from $25 to $50 million. It'll be in that range. They'll have, so they pretty much can sign. I think they can have one big signing and then maybe a middle of the road signing. I think they can do that,
Yeah, cap space will depend on how they do these little contract incentives too. So it kind of includes in performance bonus and all that stuff. And that's how contracts play a factor. But you can backload the contracts for next year and they'll get a little bit more and all that stuff. Right. And I don't know how the Rams are able to do that, man. How do you get all these players?
It's all gonna come back to bite them in the ass, though. At some point, they're going to be capped out. They're not going to have any picks, and they're going to have many years of stinking it up once some of these older guys go. I mean, they went all in. They went all in and they won. They won a championship. But I mean, we'll see. It was very interesting. It was a very ballsy, risky move, But the Eagles, I don't want them to go that route. I think about this all the time, and I'll ask you this question: you can win one Super Bowl, right away, or you could win one Super Bowl but be competitive 5, 6, 7 years in a row. What would you rather have?
I would rather be a team that wins a Super Bowl and gets competitive for those decades. For those
several years. That's what I want. I want to be in it every year. The Eagles, we won a Super Bowl in 2017. What the year we won, what we basically did was we manipulated Carson Wentz's contract. He was on a rookie deal. We weren't paying him a lot. So they went out and spent money. They went out and got older guys. They got Alshon Jeffrey, LeGarrette Blount. They got guys like that. And we had one good year, and it worked out. Everybody kind of had a really good year, and we won. But after that, we kind of fell off because guys got older and stuff. That one Super Bowl was great, but I want to be in it every year. I want to be I want to be always in a championship game. That's what I want them to do. That's what I want them to build.
Yeah, it builds up. I mean, the competitiveness. I mean, you can get to the conference championship, even though for teams like Green Bay, and then you had teams like Seattle at one point that were very competitive for a while, and then you had the Patriots that would compete year in and year out with Tom Brady, but they're a different team now. I mean, the one interesting question is, man, is Brady even officially retire, or has it just been nothing but rumors that he might just come out of retirement? It's just
I haven't heard anything that he was going to come out. I thought he retired. I don't know if he filled out his paperwork. I'm sure he's probably retired, but you never know. That would be quite a surprise if he came back. I mean, Tampa Bay is they're another team that needs a quarterback. Don't be surprised if Garoppolo ends up in Tampa.
Yeah,
He could totally end up there.
If Tampa gives us a second-round pick for him, I'll take it. And speaking of that guy's question, I would definitely take a second-round pick out of Jimmy. Any way to clear up cap space, I don't even care if it's a fifth round at this point.
I would, if I was the 49ers, I would take a second-round pick for him. If I was a team, I would not give a second-round pick for him.
Because we're robbing them. That's technically what you would say. If it was just our direction, then yeah. But for other teams, you're screwed.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Jimmy G guy, so I wouldn't give a second-round pick for him.
Yeah, but I remember what you would say. I would never give Jimmy a 7-round pick for this guy. I remember you said it on one of the streams the other time.
Yeah, in 2070.
2070. I wouldn't give a 7-round pick in 2070.
No,
that was a classic, man. At that one stream we were there.
Yeah, that was a blast. That was a blast. But I mean, I'm specifically talking to Eagles. Like, the Eagles are not where the 49ers are, where you could get a Jimmy Garoppolo type quarterback and go and win. They can't do that. They're not there yet. And if I'm going to build the team, I'm going to build it around the quarterback. So I just don't think that it would be smart for the Eagles to go out and get him.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of this guy's question, how do I feel about Trey Lance? I mean, taking over, it's going to be a learning curve because this guy's going to have to get some more experience. So you're going to either get some of the growing pains, and then you're going to get a lot of, I mean, whatever the expectation is for our fan base, don't expect this guy to win our division and take us further to the Super Bowl because that ain't going to happen.
Right.
Him making to the playoffs is a bonus, but realistically, I don't know, man. Like, I hope I'm wrong, but as a fan, being realistic, I don't see us getting anywhere past 7 wins or maybe 8 at best because Trey Lance is going to go through some growing pains. He'll put us some solid stats. I ain't gonna lie about it, but it's going to take a team. It takes a while, bro. Like,
I think you guys could win 10 games.
10 games would be our best ceiling, and then
I really do, and I say it because you are built where you guys have, I mean, you have some holes still, but you guys are pretty talented across the board, especially offensively. You have a coach who knows how to run the ball, and he knows the importance of running the ball. And I think that, you first year at Lance, I think you kind of got to do what the Eagles did with Hurts, where you take the pressure off the quarterback, depend on your run game, and good defense keep you in it. And I think if they do with him, I could see the Niners out of the gate struggling early. But at the end of the year, he starts to adjust and become the quarterback that he could become. You guys, I could see you making the playoffs. I really could. I like Trey Lance. Like I said, I like a lot of the things the 49ers have done with the draft and free agency and stuff.
Well, I'm hoping that it's 10 to 11 wins because realistically, you're going to expect this guy to have growing pains. You're going to expect him to get sacked a lot. You're going to expect him to make some mistakes in these games because it's the speed of the game. He's played at the competition. I know same can be said about what Carson Wentz played at and Josh Allen. They play these small competition. It doesn't always mean that they're not going to do. It's always about the speed of the game. And I believe the kid's got the ceiling. He's got the potential to be the franchise. But I just want to slow my roll and just pump the brakes a little bit. I want to wait and see what this guy can do first because I want to see if he can actually improve this offense, which he will because he can throw in those deep passes. The accuracy is the one thing that I'll give him the most credit for is the accuracy is gonna have to be some work in progress. The footworks, right, and then the fact that he has to learn how to slide better because he's gonna get injured. Yeah,
well, that's something he definitely has to learn because in this league you'll get beat up. You can't do it. So he'll have to learn that. I think the kid's talented. I definitely do.
Yeah, and then speaking of the expectation, the way how this guy thinks it, I mean, I could see it like that, but it wouldn't be surprising if we win about 10 or 11 wins. But I'm just not. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, but also, right now, as it stands, your division, I don't know what's going on with Arizona and Kyler Murray. It's not there's problems there. You just lost Russell Wilson out of your division, so I think your division's maybe not as good as it was over the last few years. Or the Rams are still going to be a problem, but I mean, I think there's some some opening for you guys in the West.
Yeah, it's definitely like a possibility. Like, I'm not doubting the team whatsoever. I'm just thinking, like, we got to see how Trey does. I know on paper it looks a lot better. I mean, we just saw some of that glimpse of what he did against the Texans, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, but second half adjustment, growing pains. I mean, that Cardinals game was a good experience, but maybe Shanahan needs to be more better with not having this guy run for his life or something like that.
Right, absolutely.
Don't treat him like RG3, please.
What was that?
I'm hoping Shanahan doesn't treat Trey like an RG3, man, like the way how his career was killed.
No, I don't. I don't think he will. But I think Shanahan's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, he's a good, innovative coach when it comes down to his offense and all that stuff. But sometimes he can be too unpredictable and be too cute on stuff, and that's what pisses me off about him.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It's definitely going to be interesting. So, like, as far as my draft crush, we're not going to get nothing. We're not getting a first-round pick. So, if I had to look at a realistic draft target that kind of fills the need, but I think we might go best available or either way. But I do like these two players from Cincinnati. Like that receiver, Alex Pierce, is pretty good. Good route runner. He ran a 4.33 speed also, but I like the Christian Watson. See, if you can get this Christian Watson and Trey Lance together, this is scary because they work together.
So you want to upgrade your wide receiver position.
Well, I want that big guy. I want that. I mean, you got Debo. You got Debo and Ayuk, but you want to make this offense more explosive.
Right. What do you want to do at secondary?
Oh, get this guy, Kobe Bryant. I like this Kobe Bryant kid, man. If we can get him in the second round.
Yeah, I like Kobe. I don't know when he's going to go, but I do like him too.
There's another one too called Sauce Gardner. Is another good one from Cincinnati.
Yeah,
also.
he's going top. He's going top 10.
Yeah, he doesn't give up a lot of big plays.
No, he's a stud. I love Sauce Gardner, but I think he could go as like top 5. He's going to be a stud.
He definitely is. I mean, no ifs and buts about it. But then this Derek Stingley guy is another guy that's going to be gone at some point. But the injury,
he might drop. Maybe he may drop. I don't know where you guys picking in the second round. You don't have a first, right?
No, 61.
So you pick 61. Yeah, You guys might have to You may have to make a trade up or something if you want one of those guys.
Well, depending on the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, if we can get that second round,
that's true. Yeah,
we can definitely get somebody like that. So, so you think that maybe Derek Stingley will slide?
I've heard some people say no, and then other people say yeah. I think it's going to depend if he can run at his 40 or his pro day. I don't know. I mean, some people don't like him. I like him a little more than other people, but I don't know if the injury is going to affect where he falls.
Yeah, lately there's just been some prospects that you wouldn't have expect to slide this further. Like, I mean, there's quite a few good ones, but you're gonna expect some good prospects that were first round talents from draft boards that are going to go second or third round.
Absolutely, it. It's going to be interesting, no question about it.
Definitely.
But I think that the Garoppolo thing's interesting. If you could pull like if Tampa took him, maybe you get the last first round pick. The last first round pick of the first round. But I don't know. I mean, I think Garoppolo goes. I think he's going to end up in Indianapolis. That's where I think he's going.
I thought the same way because the way they just made that trade for Carson Wentz, it's common sense. Like, they have interest. They were talking about acquiring him also. It was kind of like they were cheating behind Carson Wentz and saying, no, you're good for right now.
I mean, yeah, that whole situation is crazy.
Yeah, well, Dickerson only slided because of the injury. I think that's what happens with all these prospects. It always depends on the poor 40 time or the injury or the production of their previous season, how they weren't able to pan out the other year.
Right, yeah. I mean, I saw things when leading up to the draft, I saw people talking about Dickerson saying that if he was healthy, he's a top 20 pick, top 25, 20, 25. So that's where he would have gone if he wasn't injured,
I could definitely agree on that part, Nate. Like, I don't see us say. I mean, I can see us getting a cornerback because that is a big need, and we've been neglecting it for quite a while. So maybe that's where we address it. But don't be surprised if we get a pass rusher because knowing the 49ers, we go for these unpredictable picks.
Well, and you don't know what you're going to do in free agency too. So
That's a good one.
That changes a lot of what happens too.
Yeah, the free agency can change a lot of different perspective. Like we can go for cornerbacks, and then in the draft we probably just get some pass rushers.
Yeah, exactly. You can never have too many pass rushers.
Yeah, you can never run out of them.
Yeah, so I think that's always a pretty good pick. I could see that.
Yeah, especially some of the pass rushers that are entering free agency. There's going to be some good ones that are going to get some contracts. But the one guy that I'm hoping we bring back is Arden Key. He seems promising. He's kind of gotten better. Maybe he takes something reasonable instead of taking a big price. But
right.
Man, I don't know. J.C. Jackson will be too much to pay for, man. That's like taking a.
How much cap space do you guys have?
Until we trade Jimmy, I think we have like about $5 million in cap space, but we got to trade Jimmy to clear the books a little more. And then there's talks of Jimmy Ward and Armstead restructuring contracts to.
Well, I'll take Brandon Ayuk off your hands if you guys want to trade him to us. I have no problem with that.
I mean, you like him, so that's a draft pick.
I do like him. Yeah, I like him.
I didn't know too much about him. I didn't know a lot about him because I've only seen him have 1 year in college and all this production he had, and I'm like, I don't know about this guy. He seems like
that was a lot. That a lot of people, when they see a guy only have 1 year production, they assume, well, it's a fluke thing, and it scares people. I think it's actually scared the Eagles before. To me, it really just depends on the situation. That the same thing is being said right now about David Ojabo, the defensive end I want to get. Right, he's only really had 1 year production. He started late, but I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as like the guy's raw. He hasn't been beat up, and he's only going to get better. So I like taking chances. I like taking shots on guys like that. The draft is nobody gets the draft right all the time. The draft is a crapshoot. So to me, I'm taking the guys with the highest ceiling. That's what I want.
The highest ceiling is the one that gives you the highest risk reward and all that stuff. Right. So
that's where I'm going to go.
I mean, there's quite a few guys that I probably would be okay taking chances on, but then there's some of them where I'm just scratching my head like, I don't know about this guy.
Right.
I mean, like the fact that when we drafted Solomon Thomas, I had a feeling right off the bat this guy was going to be a bust.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it happens to everybody. It happens probably to us more than anybody, but it happens.
Yeah, a lot of the picks, man. Like I know a lot of you Eagles fans. I think at one point you guys wanted the Denzel Mims guy, right, or some other player.
Yeah, he was a guy that I liked too in the second round. I thought, from everything we saw and watched, it looked like, hey, he's got talent. A lot of these guys got talent, but you the one thing we can't look at as content creators or people sitting at home is you don't know what's in their heart. You don't know their personality. You don't know how they think, and that probably would change a lot of our opinions about guys, but we can't know that.
Yeah, we can't because the front office does whatever's behind the scenes. We might think a little bit of what they think of their common sense of what they might do, but in reality, they might do something completely different. So
right. Oh, exactly. I mean, Carson Wentz is a perfect example. Everything leading up to Carson Wentz getting drafted by the Eagles was the guy's really smart. He's never had a B or less. He's all about football. He's a leader. He's this, he's that. And then, that's all you hear. You don't hear about the guy's not getting along with teammates. He's not coachable. He's not listening. He's like that. We don't hear any of those things until after the fact.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that nobody talks about. So, I don't know about the possibles of Gilmore, man. That guy's going to cost a little more money. I think Seattle's in the mix, so they might just outbid us. We don't have that kind of money to get him. So I think Gilmore wants one final payday before he calls it quits.
Yeah, he's a little old, too, in my opinion. I think he's in his 30s now.
Yeah, 32, I think.
Yeah, I'd rather have Jackson, to be honest.
Yeah, but he's gonna expect kind of like Ramsey money. I don't know, man. But he's worth it because he got the ball hawk skills. But
yeah,
I'd be shocked if we do get Jackson, man. You know why? Because this is not something we go big on. So it's like,
right.
Doesn't catch my attention much. But when I saw J.C. Jackson play for the Patriots, I look at the fact he can get the interceptions and shut down opposing receivers, which we definitely do need to get. But
yeah,
I do see a lot of teams outbidding us, so it's going to be hard to get them.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I definitely hear you. He's going to go quick.
Yeah, he's going to go quick. And then Gilmore will probably be one of those guys you can sign for a short-term deal and pay him his last payday, and that would be it. And then there's been other players that you could definitely bring in, but there's still a lot of trade market for quarterbacks, so we'll probably find out by that time. But I'm hoping by March 16 or before March 16 or something, we get this deal done with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. I think the next shoe to drop quarterback-wise, it looks like it's Deshaun Watson, right? It looks like now that he's been cleared, it looks like he's the next foot to drop.
Then you got Carr, maybe.
Then you maybe got Carr or Cousins. I think Garoppolo comes right after Watson.
Yeah, and I'm guessing a second round pick would probably be what we get in return. Hopefully,
I think that's fair. I think that makes sense. And he's going to end up at a team that is a quarterback away or thinks they're a quarterback away. So I think Tampa Bay, the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know what the Steelers are thinking, but yeah, I think you'll get at least a second round pick. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's like a second round pick that can be a first if he has, if he accomplishes all these things,
That would have to be next year's thing, so we would have to get something out of that compensation. And then I don't know, Nate. I don't know about this free agent who we're going after. I think we're probably gonna have to wait and see until we get Jimmy Garoppolo off the books. So maybe we'll get some secondary. Maybe we'll get a couple of key players on our defensive line. We'll see, man.
Yeah. Going to be interesting, that's for sure. This is always a great time of the year,
Yeah, it definitely is a great time of the year to talk football during the offseason. I think draft season is probably one of the best football seasons, in my opinion. No disrespect to the Super Bowl. It's great to get a chance to enjoy the championship, but, man, it doesn't beat no better than the draft season.
I totally agree. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah, and David, speaking of DJ Reed, that would be a good possibility because now that Russell Wilson just went to Denver, it kind of does give you the domino effect that this team's going to fall off, and then he might just consider coming back here. But the problem with DJ Reed is he doesn't want to play no nickel, bro. He wants to play the outside, so that's the only problem. Okay, any big names I think we can get? I'm thinking DJ Reed. Because he's familiar with us. We've had him before, and I think we'll probably offer him a really good contract. There's some strong interest that we can get him.
Yeah. Not bad. No, that wouldn't be bad at all.
Yeah, and plus he's got familiarity, so it wouldn't be that hard. It just depends on Seattle if they're going to outbid us for him. Because, I mean, I don't blame him if he stays put in Seattle because he's broken out better where he was at. So maybe a change of scenery coming back to us and playing a role that he wants to play would be great.
Right.
But
yeah. No, 49ers are a good team, man. It's going to be interesting for sure. I really want to see what Trey Lance does next year. I'm curious. I thought he was a good prospect coming out. I thought that was a great move. And that's it. That's what's going to determine your guy's season. How quickly can he develop?
Yeah, it depends. That's going to be the most interesting part is Trey Lance.
Yeah,
as a full-time starter and see how he does, and we'll know from there. So it's like, yeah, man. And I know everything kind of goes from place. You got to wait and see how it goes. So, like you said, a draft can be a crapshoot, and nothing's guaranteed in the NFL. But hey, I definitely appreciate you on the show, man. I know you probably got to get going pretty soon, man.
Oh, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm glad we could do it. It was fun coming on, and I'm just honored that you would invite me. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just honored for a lot of the YouTubers like you, man, that's paved the way for a lot of small content creators like myself, man. Like you pretty much inspired a lot of us, man. So
Thank you.
I keep pushing, man, but you're doing a great job, man.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, just keep doing it. Keep being consistent. I've watched some of your videos. I'm subscribed, and I think you're doing a great job. Just keep going, man.
For sure, man. I'll give you a last introduction for the audience, and then we can end from here.
Well, if you want to see me, if you want to watch more of me, you don't know who I am. Not only do I look like Denzel Washington, but I talk a lot of football. So Philly 500, Philly.500, or Philly just 500. I put out daily content pretty much all the time. So I'm always up there, always up to something. And that's where you can find me.
Yeah, man. Hey, it was a great show, man. Maybe down the road we can definitely catch up again, man. But it was a great debate, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you having me on, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anytime, man. As always, Philly 500 and CG Ruthless Sports is out, and you already know.